Hi, my name is Mandy, and I'm a reference librarian here at Haverford Township Free Library. Today I'm going to review two nonfiction books that I have read recently. Facing the Mountain, A True Story of Japanese Americans in World War II by Daniel James Brown, and The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee by David Troyer. While they both handle different subject matter, they both address the same concept of what it means to be a minority in the United States of America at different points in the nation's history. The first book that I am going to review for you today is Facing the Mountain, A True Story of Japanese Americans in World War II by Daniel James Brown. This book is available to borrow from Libby, is available through the library, and is also now available as a book club in the bag, for those who would like to introduce this book to their book club. This title, by the author of Boys in the Boat, has been reviewed by the Wall Street Journal and NPR. This book addresses the origin of Nisei, or first-generation Japanese Americans, in the country on the islands of Hawaii and mainland USA. While it touches on other lives and experiences, it mainly focuses on a group of 4 young men and follows them through their lives before, during, and after World War II. Katz Miho grew up in Hawaii, on Maui, the son of hoteliers. Fred Shiozaki was born on the mainland. His parents ran a dry cleaning business. Rudy Takiwa began his life on a farm in California, but after Pearl Harbor found himself in an internment camp along with his family. Gordon Hirabayashi was a Quaker who refused to go to the internment camps and abide by the curfews, as he deemed the rules unconstitutional, and then he was punished through being put in jail during World War II. The book does a good job illustrating the lives of these boys and following them through their various journeys during the span of World War II, from enlistment in the 442nd Regiment and what they did there, to a life in an internment camp or one of peaceful protest. This book shows the facets of what it meant to be a Japanese immigrant or Japanese American man during the war in Europe. From the first boots on the ground to the discovery of the Nisei of the Nazi death camps, this book brings the pain and pride that these boys felt in performing what they considered to be their duty for a country that only treated them with suspicion and intolerance. I really enjoyed this work and found it very interesting and educational. I think someone who was interested in the history of World War II in the United States of America, as well as someone who was interested in different cultural perspectives at that time period, would really like this book as well. The second book that I would like to review for you is The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, Native America from 1890 to the Present by David Troyer. This book has been out for a couple of years now and is available through Libby or by Overdrive and as a physical copy through the Haverford Township Free Library. I first became interested in this title when I heard an interview with the author on NPR, though I know that this book has also been reviewed in the New York Times Book Review and named a Best Book of the Year by that publication in 2019. David Troyer was raised on the Leech Lake Ojibwe Reservation, born of a Native American mother and a Jewish father who had escaped Nazi oppression in World War II. It is kind of a response to, and hence the title stems from, the book Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, written in 1970 by D. Brown. Rather than consign his people to being a downtrodden and disappearing minority, David Troyer threads a narrative through an admittedly difficult time period in American history for Native American tribes, but ends his book on a note of hope, explaining how Native populations are on the rise and taking control of their lands and their futures, rather than trusting the United States government to do it for them. Though I like this book and found it interesting, it is not an easy read, as it addresses individual territories in the United States, outlining their history and following the Native American population of that area through their introduction to the white man, their decimation and losses to disease, and the cruelty of invading forces who took their land and tried to take their pride in their culture. They even tried to take the knowledge of it through taking children away from their families to enroll in tribal schools for the express purpose of killing the Indian in him and saving the man, wherein they forbade the use of native languages or the wearing of traditional clothing. It continues through the attempted theft of the land through termination and the transition of many tribes into a more urban lifestyle in the 20th century. The last part of the book is where the hope comes in, as it discusses how tribes have bounced back and how 3 million people now identify as Native Americans versus the 200,000 that did 100 years ago. It also discusses the advances made in Indigenous equality, as well as a respect for tribal faiths and cultures, as Native Americans look inward to change things for the better, rather than rely on a government that has never treated them fairly. This book would be a good choice for anyone who is interested in the history of the United States of America, and maybe a different perspective on that history, or a detailed and thorough account of Native American history, more specifically. Especially someone who is interested in tracing the history of Native Americans in the 21st century and today, not just the ancient aspects of Native American history, but the more modern take on it, as the author goes into the impact of social media and the concept of the digital native and how it is changing tribal life. Thank you for joining me today with my staff picks. I hope that you get a chance to read and enjoy these titles, and have a great day.